Hey y'all, Ashes of Creations Alpha 2 Phase 3 is just a month away. And while I personally don't think it's going to be any kind of a huge failure, there are definitely some things that could derail the whole thing and lead to a potentially much smaller launch than what people are currently expecting. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list. It's just the things I think would be the most damaging for Phase 3, and I'll be presenting them from least damaging to most damaging. So, with that said, let's get into it. Number 5, a complete failure of the dynamic gridding slash long standing server issues. One of the things that kind of blew people away about the Phase 1 launch is just how stable the environment was and how playable it was right off the rip, assuming you weren't one of the ones who got stuck in the starter area. And even for those people that were having those problems, within a couple of weeks, even the starter areas were fine, and the servers, with a few exceptions, were solid and stable throughout all the tests. We've been told Intrepid's revolutionary dynamic gridding system will be in place at the start of Phase 3 or shortly thereafter, and that it will be tested throughout the month of August on the PTR. Dynamic gridding is essential to Ashes of Creation. Most other MMOs have areas where they know there will be high populations at certain times and they can prepare their server infrastructure accordingly. But Ashes has lots of different systems that can cause huge fights to break out almost anywhere. Caravans are basically a mobile capture the flag event that can easily have 100 players chasing it all over the map. World bosses roam their zones, leading to raid level fights happening anywhere. Then you have the entire naval system with ships fighting in a massive ocean with no one being able to predict exactly where that will happen. The ability for this game to instantaneously and automatically spool up new servers in certain areas to accommodate lots of players and then spool down those same servers when the action dissipates is crucial to their plans. If the promise of this revolutionary tech isn't delivered on at P3 launch or pretty soon after, people will start to believe it's a pipe dream, and it could have serious negative effects on people's feelings towards Phase 3 or even Ashes of Creation as a whole. Number 4, nodes not being what they need to be. I've said it many times in the past, and I'm going to continue saying it. Without nodes, the truly revolutionary system for Ashes, this game is just another generic fantasy MMO, albeit one with outstanding combat and a really cool story. But still, it's the nodes that are going to set this game apart. To be fair, Intrepid has acknowledged that nodes aren't where they want them to be right now, and there are some major changes coming to Phase 3. But what we get in August will be a far cry from what nodes are promised to be. Nodes are supposed to be the central system that you interact with every day. They are supposed to create node pride, ensuring that the citizens bond with one another and work together to overcome the harshness of the Varen landscape. They are supposed to change based on what race contributes the most to them, something that we actually had in this game 4 years ago back in Alpha 1. They are supposed to have 4 different types, each with distinct advantages and unique ways of electing their mayor. None of that is going to be present at the launch of Phase 3. And I totally understand they are building the system along slowly, and each new iteration really needs to be thoroughly tested before they add on the next layer. And hopefully, these additions we have coming soon will help in a lot of those areas, because players completely ignoring the node system like they did mostly in Phase 1 and Phase 2 will be the downfall of this game. Number 3, too much focus on the grind, or more specifically, a lack of questing. I run a medium-sized guild, so as people started to drop off during the first 2 phases of Alpha 2, I started asking people, hey, what turns you away? And almost every single person I spoke to said some version of the exact same thing. They said the grind is too much. They said, I want to level another character, but the thought of begging for a group at the Remnants of Syphilis, then sitting in one spot and just killing the same few groups of mobs for hours and hours and hours is just too much. They said, I like the grinding. I like that we get to do that some. I think it makes me better at my class. I think it introduces me to people out in the world, but I need a break. I'll come back when they have questing. And to be fair, questing has been in since the start of Alpha 2 in the form of commission boards. It's just that the rewards have been so pathetic, they aren't worth doing. There needs to be a way for a person who only has an hour or 2 to jump in and get right into playing and actually feel some progress. It's awful knowing that you only have 1 hour to play today, but it will probably take you 30 minutes to find a group, travel to where they are, the group finds a good grind spot, all that. By the time the group finds its rhythm and is really churning out the XP, you got to go to bed. I'm not saying that they should make it so that people could just level 1 to 25 with quests and never interact with or even acknowledge other players. But a middle ground needs to be found here where people will abandon Phase 3 just like they did the previous two. Number 2, no secondary archetypes or augments. For me personally, this is my number 1. But this list isn't about me. This concept of pick 2 classes and they meld into one to form your final class, it's not a new one. It's been done before. Maybe not exactly in this way, but it's still not exactly novel. And even the augment system, getting to make slight or even sometimes major changes on the way skills work, is not new. ESO calls it skill morphs. SWTOR lets you equip items in something called the tactical slot that radically changes one skill. WoW has some dramatic skill changes built into the trees, and I'm sure there are other games that have similar setups. What sets Ashes apart is the sheer number of skill augments, with 8 different subclasses to choose from, and each of those having 4 different schools of magic to choose from. That works out to 32 different augments to every skill in the game. Now, to be fair, while Steven has talked about this stuff in the past, Intrepid has never officially confirmed 32 for every skill. It's possible some skills won't have augments at all, or will only have augments based on 1 or 2 schools from the subclass. We really don't know. But based on the info we have right now, it sounds like 32 augments per skill. And that's not including augments that you get from other places. Steven has said in the past that there will be augments associated with your node, what type of node it is, what level it is, your standing within that node, your standing within your religious order, and several other places as well. This is going to create unbelievable build diversity, and quite frankly, will be what this channel is all about once we have access to these things. We were told to expect Tank and Cleric as secondary archetype choices at the start of Phase 3, but there was no mention of that whatsoever in the recent P3 livestream. So I suspect that has been delayed, and that's fine. People are going to need time to level up their primary archetype first anyway, but if the majority of the server is sitting at 25, trying to gear up, engaging in PvP, and looking for things to do, and they still don't have access to those secondary archetypes, people are going to get bored. However, as soon as they are in, the incentive to try out every variation of every skill, every different secondary archetype, to level up new characters so you can try other combinations will be overwhelming for a lot of people. They just cannot wait too long to add this feature. And number 1 is continuing to let the cheaters, exploiters, and RMTers run the game. We all know how bad this feels. You grinded your butt off all day long to make enough gold to buy that fancy new sword you saw in the auction house, only to have someone hop on for 30 seconds, dupe some gold, and buy it out from under. Or getting together with your guild, running scrimmages, practicing caravan defense, 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, small-scale skirmishes, massive raid-size clashes, drilling and practicing for hours on end, trying to improve, trying to increase your chances of winning in any encounter, only to have a few people hack the game, give themselves crazy high stats or unlimited movement speed, and they just wipe out your group with no effort. Cheaters suck, and they ruin the game for everyone else. Now, I personally have a theory about why Intrepid has taken such a soft-handed approach to dealing with the cheaters up to this point, but that's a video for another day. Leave the word cheaters in the comment if you'd like to see that video. But the point remains. Up to this point, Intrepid has done almost nothing about the cheating and exploiting. I mean, they've taken some action, and in some cases it sounds like they've taken appropriate action, but overall, the response has been with kid gloves. With Phase 3 slated to last at least a year, and most likely quite a bit longer than that, and this supposedly being the last full wipe, Intrepid cannot let the cheaters get away with everything they've been doing. If we get 3 months into Phase 3, and RMT is everywhere, and we see people exploiting everywhere, and speed hacks are rampant, people are going to leave this game and go do something else. Intrepid needs large numbers of people logging in and playing, giving bug reports and feedback in order to properly finish this game. If only the most hardcore players are left to give that feedback, guess which way the game is going to go? Yep, more hardcore, freezing out the casual player base that this and every other MMO needs to be viable. Well, there you go, guys. Those are the top 5 things that could derail Phase 3. What did I leave out? I mean, I really could have made this a top 10, but that would have been a super long video. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.